Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Dana Hawkins. I am author of Not in the Plan, In Walk Trouble, and Serving Love. These are three romance novels that have varying heat levels and spice levels and also deal with different themes. So I'm super excited to walk you through my presentation today, talking about how we can find the spark within your romance novels. And hopefully you can take away a few nuggets that will help you on your writing career. So again, thank you so much for having me, and here it is. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Dana Hawkins, and I am here to talk about finding a spark, believable romance. Just a quick introduction about me. I started writing as a child and put it away for a lot of years, and now it started again as an adult. I have found that this is such a passion of mine, and I have learned from so many people, and I'm really excited to hopefully share some knowledge with you. I have currently 3 books, Not in the Plan, In Mock Trouble, and Serving Love. Not in the Plan and In Mock Trouble is a little bit more steamy. It's sapphic rom-com, and Serving Love is a wholesome, warm, romance set in central Minnesota. So Not in the Plan, In Mock Trouble, and Serving Love. So with all of that, let's dive into the top 10 ways to create realistic romance. As we're writing, there are just some things that we can keep in mind that creating realistic romance is really more than physical. We have to talk about character goals, conflicting feelings, definitely have to have some fights or tension in there with the love interests. We're going to talk about exes and how important it is to portray them in reflection of the way that you want your character to be portrayed. We're going to talk about dual POVs, various tropes, flaws, occupation, and oh my gosh, yes, we're going to talk a little bit about sex, but I'm going to keep this pretty PG because I'm not sure who the audience is on this presentation. So, diving right into there, attraction is more than physical, I promise. So, I think one of the things that we really want to uh, keep in mind with writing attraction is that there are different things besides, oh my gosh, he is so hot, or oh, she's so hot, or oh, that long hair is bringing me in, or whatever that may be. Maybe the person is funny and quirky. Maybe they tell really goofy dad jokes. Maybe uh it's a man who really likes Appletini. Who knows? I'm not sure, but really keeping funny and quirky, I think, is a great way to show immediate attraction. Another great way to do is to do something nice. So maybe this person holds the door for them. Maybe this person is closing up shop and lets them come in anyway. Or maybe you see this individual, helping a child cross the road or kicking a soccer ball back into a game or whatever it is. Have that character do something nice. And I think that you'll create some really authentic attraction right away. And then the third thing, just making that attraction more than physical, is having a common interest. One of my favorite things to do is to have people have a shared love of movies. I think it's a great way to have banter, especially if the movies are kind of obscure or older. They could also have a shared love of music and get into some conversation. Maybe they're arguing about a record that is available, and there's only one left at this random record store in uptown. Whatever it is, having that common interest will really attract each other to the other person. Goals. A romance really cannot center around the two individuals just getting together. There has to be more to the story to give the story depth. So, really, what do the characters really want? What do they kind of want? And why aren't they there yet? I one time read a story about this really accomplished dancer who had made it to the most prestigious dance troop is a trope in the world. They went to Juilliard. They were just really living out an incredible dream. But the entire book was focused on the fact that she wanted to be a wife to her jerky boyfriend. And I really thought that the story fell flat for me. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know that this incredible woman had more goals than just being the wife of someone. And maybe that's me, that's personal preference, but I really think that it adds layers to your writing. So goals, what do they really want? Like at their core, what do they want? They want to be loved. Maybe they want to feel respected. Maybe they want to feel seen. There's a lot of things that we really need to dive into that person and just really get into the heart of what they want. And I do think that this is more than I want to be happy or I want to be in love. I think this is an overall sense of feeling that they want a partner to share experiences in or lead a fulfilling life, whatever that may look like. And then what do they kind of want? This is where we can get into really some fun things within the story. Are they looking for a promotion? Are they maybe looking to graduate college or open a business? Maybe they're looking to perfect the perfect cocktail or the craft drink or the best brewery, who knows? But what is it that they kind of want? And then the other thing is, why aren't they there yet? What are the things that are stopping them from both getting their goal, their high level goal of feeling seen, feeling respected, whatever that high level goal may be? And what is stopping them from getting what they kind of want, like that promotion? This is really where you can play with that storytelling aspect and really bring some life to your characters. Okay, conflicting feelings. It's okay not to be head over heels. And it's also okay to be annoyed with each other. I actually think that's really realistic. I myself am a huge fan of the grumpy sunshine trope. And kind of having a person that is annoying, but also they kind of like them. And that is a really good way to play with your characters. This is where we can really dive into that storytelling capabilities where you're using internal dialogue. What I really love is when internally the reader knows that the protagonist is thinking one thing, but flat out says another. Like, hey, do you need my help? Character one says. Character two thinks to themselves, oh my gosh, yes, I am drowning here. But instead, she snaps her head up and says, absolutely not. I can do this on my own. And I think that is just such a cool way to see more about the character when they have one feeling and then think the other. And then also with conflicting feelings, why can they not be together? So this sort of goes back to when folks really want to be together and both sides do. What is the feeling that is constricting them from finding love? Maybe they're scared of getting hurt. Maybe there's heartbreak. Maybe they're just getting over a death of a loved one or a pet or whatever that may be. Maybe they really want to, but if they distract themselves at all from work, they're not going to get their promotion and then they're not going to be able to put money down on a new apartment. Whatever that is, talk about maybe that they do want to pursue this, but the reasons why they can't. And this leads us into fights. Oh, this is my most fun part of reading books as a reader. It is also my most difficult as a writer to do. I love me some good fights. I really do. I think this is where the heart of the story comes in when people are just snapping doozies at each other. And so incorporate it, use it to your advantage. But there are some things to keep in mind. One, don't hold back. Say what the person is thinking. If they think the other person is being a jerk, let them know they're being a jerk. If they think that they're not doing as good of a job as they can and they're not pulling their weight at work, say it. Say everything. If they think that they're a player or maybe that they're not loyal or whatever the case is, don't hold back. But now we're going to go to number two. Also, don't go too far. So I've written this before, and I have some amazing beta readers that wrote back after a fight scene, and they said, "Whoa, I literally don't like this person anymore, and I don't know if they're redeemable." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, that was not my intention at all. My intention was to show conflict and arguments and fights and real life. It wasn't to make the reader hate the characters. So that is something that really dive in to not holding back with the fights, but make sure that you don't go too far. You do not want the readers to be rooting for the people to not get together. I think that is one of the worst things that you could do as a romance author is you want your readers to feel for these people and have them get together. And then at the end, you can have them both be right. This is tricky, but this is also, again, one of my favorite things to do is that both the people have a really solid point, whatever that point may be. Now, a lot of times I bring in something about the past. Maybe it's a socioeconomic thing, and one of the characters was not as privileged as the other one growing up. And so they're coming from a real core sense of their beliefs when they're arguing. But so is the other person, and the other person is feeling not seen, not heard. They're feeling invalidated with what they're saying. And so, really having them both be right while fighting, but still not come to a conclusion, I think can be very powerful within your story. Okay, let's talk about the exes. Almost all romance stories have exes of some sort. It is very rare not to. Normally, this is how stories come out. Someone is coming off of a heartbreak, or maybe there's an ex that is popping back up into the picture. I love when exes are brought back. I think it tells a lot about the characters, it tells a lot about their past, it tells a lot about who they were in a different relationship. But there are some really key things to keep in mind when you bring up exes. You really don't want the ex to be too awful. So I'm going to take a little page out of a playbook from the wonderful, incredible Bryn Donovan, author and editor extraordinaire. And I went to a conference of hers one time, and she had brought this up. And she said, I was reading this book, and the ex of the character was so awful. It was the stereotypical everything that you would think of, this ex-girlfriend, this icky ex-girlfriend. And she said, I remember thinking to myself, I think that this character, the main character, lowered themselves in her mind, because why would you be together with such an awful person who had no redeeming qualities? And that advice stuck out to me more than almost any other advice that I've seen, is that it is really a reflection of who they are. Now, if you are telling a much darker story about abuse and leaving an abusive relationship or a narcissistic relationship or whatever that may be, it is important to show that. But again, also in those relationships, it's really important to show why the individual fell for that person in the first place. If that person is awful, if that person is a sociopath, if that person is this terrible human being, then why did that main character fall for that person in the first place? So that is something to keep in mind. So I've really, most of my stories, I have the exes be relatively decent people. And it just didn't work out. There were just fundamental issues that it didn't work out. And then also, I think there is a little bit of intrigue when they are decent enough people that, oh, could they get back together? It doesn't mean that they have to be friends. It doesn't mean that they have to be super friendly and huggy with each other. It is just showing like this person has good judgment. It did not work out with the other person. Let's talk about what happened there. Number two, a realistic reason for breaking up. So this can be hard sometimes to really nail, but I think it brings, again, more depth to your story when you have a realistic reason for breaking up, as opposed to oh, they just didn't get along anymore. So maybe it was a move. Maybe it was cheating, which does happen a lot in the romance genre with the exes. Maybe it was this individual was too focused on their career. Maybe this individual wanted a baby and the other one didn't. There are a lot of real reasons for breaking up. And you can always, without letting your friends and family know, you can always get inspiration from those around you. Think about people in your life who have broken up and really get into the heart of why they did. And then again, this kind of goes back to what I'd mentioned about the fights before. Let them both be right. Let both of the characters in terms of the main character and their ex, be right about why they broke it off. I do think sometimes having an ex where their only storyline, if they're incorporated into the novel, if their only storyline is they're chasing back and they want that person back, that tends to get a little dull for me. I really like to see that they both had a reason for ending the relationship, a valid reason, and we're able to show maybe how those issues that was within the past relationship is coming into the next relationship. And now we are on to POV. So I will say my personal favorite is dual POV. I want to know what both the love interests are thinking. I want to know exactly what they're thinking. But if you really want to write in a single POV, that is perfectly fine. There are a lot of people who do it really well. There is an author named Allie Hazelwood, and she wrote in a single POV. This is her book, Love Hypothesis, and I still felt like I knew what the other character was thinking. She showed really well. She had a lot of subtext in there where I could really understand what that other character was thinking, even though we were not really in their head. But since we're talking about dual POV here, I really love getting both perspectives. I like getting into the head of each character. I want to know exactly what they're thinking, why they're doing what they're doing, why they're saying one thing and doing an action that is totally different, that goes back to the conflicting feelings, that goes back to this really beautiful internal monologue that you can develop. And when you have dual POV, I really feel like it is a way to share with the readers the inner workings of them, and lets the readers really root for both of the characters, even if it's a grumpy sunshine, even if there is a lot of tension. It lets the readers really latch on to that relationship and want to see that couple get together. And now we are on to tropes. Give me the tropes. I love tropes. We are in romance novel world right now. Tropes are incredible. Tropes are expected. Tropes are there for a reason. People read romance novels because they like a certain trope. And so sometimes there is some dialogue around how maybe this is cheating, or maybe, oh, romance novels, you're either going to have a fake romance or one bed or opposites attract. And you know what? That's okay. That is what we're there for. So let's talk about some of these. We have it for a reason. Like, use it. People want to know within the romance genre what they're getting into. I know, like I've said already 100 times, that I love Grumpy Sunshine. I want to know it's a Grumpy Sunshine story. I want to know it's an opposites attract story. That is what I really like. And you know what? You can always have a fresh take on a classic idea. So, yes, we have read the stories where there's one room or one bed. And you know what? I never get sick of it. I think it's a great, fun, funny storyline. And every time I've read that storyline, the authors have come up with some unique way to solve it. So, just having a fresh take on a classic idea is really where the power of your story comes in. That's where the power of your storytelling comes in, and really using what makes sense for your story. If you want to incorporate 10 different tropes within your story, go ahead and do it. You want grumpy sunshine and opposites attract and one bed and fake romance all in one. That's great. You want to use one of them? Great. You want to use none of them and try to come up with something different? That's awesome too. It is really whatever makes sense for your story, but don't feel like you have to choose one and stick with it. You can mesh and merge and put them all together as much as you want. Okay, one of my favorite things, flaws are good. Flaws are human. Your people have to have flaws. I know that I have read many stories where one of the protagonists or one of the love interests, I am like, what's wrong with this person? There's nothing wrong with this person. They are absolutely perfect. And now I'm kind of bored, to be honest. I don't want to read about the perfect looking, perfect acting, perfectly charming main characters. I want to read about the people that have maybe a mental health issue or an anxiety issue. I want to read about the people that are struggling to pay their bills, or maybe they have a crooked grin, or maybe they've never been in love because they're skittish and shy, or maybe they're free spirit and they're out there and but with that they're not able to make really good strong intimate connections. Whatever it is, I want realistic flaws. Now, second part of that, physical flaws. We love reading about beautiful people. I know it. But you know what? There's a lot of beauty in a lot of things. Like I mentioned before, maybe a crooked smile. Maybe their earlobe is longer than the other one. Maybe their hands are ginormous or tiny or whatever it is. I love having these physical flaws that make the character unique and stand out and special and fun. Also, just a small reminder to watch the cliches, whatever it is. But I think one of the things that I don't love as a reader is their flaw is that they're too perfect. Their flaw is that they work too hard. Their flaw is that they can't find love. Let's go a little bit deeper with our stories and really find some good flaws for our character to keep the story interesting. Okay, on to occupation. Not everyone has to be a millionaire. And let me talk about that for for a second. I love billionaire stories. I really do, and I love the millionaire stories too as well. But not everyone has to have a fantastic job. I'm a huge fan of what I like to call blue collar romance. So people just working regular jobs, making ends meet. Not necessarily that they're all struggling. They're just, working a regular office job and finding creative dates within when you're on a budget. I think is a really interesting storyline. I really think that you can come up with a lot of subplots by having really interesting jobs. And so, my gosh, what if someone's a taxidermist? Or what if someone works in a funeral home and falls in love with a grieving widow? What if somebody works at the courthouse? I thought that would be the best story, and anyone is welcome to take it. But you are seeing so much of society in and out every day and sometimes not at their best. But once in a while, you'll get some amazing courthouse stories like the adoptions that are coming through, or someone winning a lawsuit where they were really wronged. But I really think having that real job makes things interesting. Planning a dates on a budget is creative. If you are not a gazillionaire and you don't have a private jet to bring you around and go to New York for New Year's Eve, and you don't have a beach house on Malibu, how do you make a date fun? And how do you incorporate that into your story? Maybe you play Pictionary or charades, or maybe you set up a fire outside and make s'mores. I have that in one of my books. I thought it was a really sweet scene that these people that were kind of struggling to make ends meet, but they had a fantastic time building delicious s'mores. Maybe they bake cookies. There's a lot of different things that you can do to make the dates really creative, even on a budget. Okay, we are at the final part, the sex scene for those who are writing steamy or kissing for those who are not. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. And of course, this is all very subjective. So, similar to what I said in the very beginning, if everything is perfect, if everything is physical, I think it is a little bit boring. And so I like to feel that the people are nervous. I like to feel that they're wondering if their feet are cold, or if they forgot to shave their legs, or if their heart is thumping in their chest, or maybe they're scared, maybe they're nervous, maybe they hear a dog barking in the background and they're outside and they're focusing on the dog when they should be focusing on smooching their partner. Whatever that is, I really like to show more than, oh my God, this person is so hot. This feels so good. I think that tends to be a little bit boring. So that goes on to watch the stage directions. I think this is a place within romance stories that you can have some stage directions. People tend to like these scenes to be drawn out. They tend to like to know exactly what is happening with this. But you don't want it clinical, you know? You don't want, she put her mouth on hers. She put her hand on her hip. She moved forward. She moved closer. That gets to be a little bit dull. And so I think it's just this really fine balance of maybe he inched closer to her, his heart racing, thumping in his ears. He wanted this so much, but he wasn't sure how she felt. Making that up off the cuff, so that's probably not my best work. But, so there's a little bit of stage direction, but there's also what he's feeling on the inside. Also, I think that sometimes there is some pressure within the romance community about you have to make it, oh, so steamy. Or, oh man, you got to tone that down. You went way too far. And honestly, this is where I just want every writer to feel that they can do whatever feels right to you. You want it hot and steamy and erotic, you go nuts. That is what you should do. That feels authentic and good to you, then write it that way. If you are not comfortable with doing anything more than hugs, then just have that hug be the juiciest, most wonderful hug that you have ever done. And that is okay too. I know for me personally, I write very wholesome and I write some steam. And the steam level that I have right now is probably as much as I'm going to get because I'm not at this point comfortable writing anymore. And that's okay. We all have our varying levels. But if it is coming from you and you're comfortable with it and you feel authentic and you like it, that will shine through your pages. I promise you. Okay, we have reached the end of this. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Again, you can find me. I'm on all the socials, I'm on my website. And I really, really hope that you can take some of these nuggets home with you and elevate your writing. And oh, I just love the romance genre so much. I'm so happy you're here and you're learning, and I can't wait to read your stories. And again, thank you for having me. I'm Dana Hawkins, and we will see you soon.